Welcome back to Beyond the Line of Scrimmage. We are here today with Makes. I am Montana. We are doing the top 12 playoff bracket, our national champion, our Heisman, all in this episode. So we get you guys ready for our predictions for the season starting in a couple weeks. Let's do it. First of all, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We got an announcement that you guys might like. We are going to be live streaming on Saturday nights as much as we can after the games on Saturday. Just going to recap the games, going to talk through some stats. If nobody shows up, we're just going to talk about the games, have fun, enjoy it. We want to see you guys there. Drop a comment, drop predictions, whatever you got to say. We're going to try to do that as much as possible in season. So make sure to be around. We'll make sure we announce it before every week.
Best G5 conference winner. We've got Navy. Head coach Brian Newberry went 10-3 last year. They keep Blake Horvath still on that team, who had a monstrous season last year. A very, very potent offense, averaging 31.5 points a game last year.
Our 11th seed, possibly the surprise team of this year's playoff bracket, we have Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech at 11. Brent Key, 7-6 last year. They returned Jamal Haynes, Malik Rutherford, Haynes King. You get Eric Rivers from FIU. You're second in the conference in rushing last year. You return all your offensive coaches.
Number 10, the national champion runner-up in Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman and company, went 14-2 last year before losing a tight game to Ohio State. I think they shocked a lot of people. Last year we said, hey, in the playoff preview, we said, hey, could Notre Dame make noise? Well, guess what? They did. You've got a quarterback battle going on. You have one of the best backfields in the country with Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. You return probably your best pass catcher on the offense and Jaden Greathouse. You lose some of the best defensive players, Xavier Watts being probably the most notable departure. You still got Leonard Moore and Christian Gray, who were standouts last year. This defense is great. This is a loaded defense. This is going to be what really propels Notre Dame like it did last year.
At number 9, everybody's favorite, the Alabama Crimson Tide, 9-4 last year in 2024. They bring in Ryan Grubb to officially be their OC at Alabama. Big decision to make with Ty Simpson, Austin Mack, or Keelan Russell. Probably going to be Ty Simpson. They return Ryan Williams from last year, Jeremy Bernard at wide receiver. They bring in the Miami receiver, Isaiah Horton. That offense is going to be locked and loaded if they get this quarterback decision right. Defensively, they're going to be just as good. They returned most of their starters from last year. The defense got better as the season wore on. They returned Deontay Lawson from a torn ACL. Keon Sabb, one of the best players in NCAA 26. Defensively, they're going to be loaded. Team-wise, this is one of the better teams that we've seen from Alabama in the past couple of years. Only thing here is the schedule is pretty tough.
And coming in at number 8, we've got the defending national champions, Ohio State. National champions last year, Ohio State. They lose Chip Kelly as the OC. Brian Hartline steps in to become that offensive coordinator, former wide receiver coach. You return your biggest pass catchers, Jeremiah Smith, superstar of the sport, Carnell Tate, underrated. Bring in Max Clare. This passing game is going to be crazy. And I assume the running game's also going to step up. You got James Peoples in there. Looks like Julian Sain's going to win that quarterback battle. Young running back room. It's very filled with talent. It's Ohio State. They've got dudes back there. You may not know their names yet, but you will this year. You lose a couple of NFL talents in the offensive line, but you've got Hinsman, Montgomery, Shabaloa, all coming back on the offensive line. It should still be a solid group. Defensively, you've got Matt Patricia coming down from the NFL ranks to join as your defensive coordinator. You return Caleb Downs, Davison Igbeson, who's a big, rangy corner. You got Sonny Styles, who brings in over 100 tackles, 6 sacks, and a forced fumble from last year. Joining the linebacker room with Arvell Reese. You got C.J. Hicks on the defensive line. You've got Bo Atkinson at D-end. Defensively, I'd expect Ohio State to be dominant. There's just some question marks on the offense, and really they're not that big of question marks.
Coming in at number 7, our third team in the SEC, Georgia. Kirby Smart always going to have this team ready to go. They went 11-3 last year. Return Gunnar Stockton. You added Zachariah Branch, Noah Thomas, Colby Young at wide receiver. Return Dylan Bell. You're still kind of uncertain about that tight end position. Nate Frazier, who I really like at running back. Chauncey Bowens, Bo Walker. Those guys will be there. It'll be kind of more so running back by committee if they don't really, expect a lot out of Nate Frazier. Defensively, they return a trio D lineman. Edge is probably the biggest question mark. Gabe Harris missed all the spring, but he's number 1. Secondary is going to be a strength, as you usually always is at Georgia.
And coming into our 6th spot, we've got the Big 12 champ, Kansas State, our projected Big 12 champ. The under head coach, Chris Kleiman, one of the most underrated coaches in the country. Went 9-4 last season. A little bit of a dip than what was expected. Obviously, quarterback and running back expected to be one of the biggest strengths. You've got Avery Johnson and Dylan Edwards in there along with Joe Jackson. You got a returning wide receiver in J.C. Brown, who had a solid year last year. And you also got transfers Jerron Bradley and Jaron Tibbs. Tight end room is going to be solid this year, but the biggest question mark on this offense is going to be the O-line. Not many snaps played together so far with this group. Defensively, this is where Kansas State's probably the most excited to see when you have one of the top D-lines in the entire Big 12. Some names to watch. You've got Tony Asunami. He's going to be the guy that's getting the pressure on the quarterback. You got Austin Romaine, who's one of the best linebackers in the entirety of the Big 12. And VJ Payne. Outside of VJ Payne, the rest of that group is a bit unproven so far. But again, with that D-line and linebacker group, I expect this defense to be great.
At number 5, our Big Ten runner-up, we have Michigan. 8-5 in 2024 under Sherrone Moore. Their offense last year was terrible. They bring in Chip Lindsey from North Carolina to call plays. Mikey Keene, him and Bryce Underwood. They added Donovan McCulley from Indiana at wide receiver. Justin Haynes from Alabama at running back. They need improvement along that offensive line, but it got better last year as time wore on. There's a lot of momentum going into 2025 after those 2 wins against Ohio State and Alabama to finish the year. Defensively, they should be just as good this year, if not better. They lost Will Johnson last year. They lost Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham. Those guys are all good, but they can be just as good this year. TJ Guy, Derek Moore expected to be absolute dudes on the edge this year. They bring in transfers from Clemson and Alabama, Troy Williams, Damon Payne, to make sure that defensive tackle room is decent. And then, of course, they got Deshaun Barham and Ernest Hausman at linebacker. Those guys started last year. They're going to start again this year. Rod Moore returns from an ACL injury last year, and they got to fill around him, okay? But they only closed the season last year with 2 touchdowns, allowed in 14 quarters against some of the best offenses in the country.
Coming in at number 4, we've got our runner-up of the SEC, Florida. Head coach Billy Napier off the hot seat after this season is what we're expecting. We got DJ Lagway, who's going to be a Heisman candidate this year. Went 6-1 last year, greatly in part due to his solid play as well as the defense being elite, and it should be more elite this year. You've got a loaded running back room. You got Jacoby Jackson and stud Jaden Ball. You got stud wide receivers like former 5-stars Eugene Wilson and Dallas Wilson. Expect him to break out this year. You also got Vernell Brown, who's a freshman out there. So you've got a young couple dudes coming in that wide receiver position who are expected to make noise. You've also got J. Michael Sturdivant. You've got Hayden Hansen at tight end. Those guys both transferred in this past season. You've got one of the best offensive lines in the country. You've got Jake Slaughter with a bunch of guys with experience. You got Austin Barber, Damian George. This offensive line should be good. This should be a great off. I'm not too worried about the stuff that DJ's been dealing with this past offseason. I think he's going to be fine once the season rolls around. Defensively, this is one of the best defenses in the country that's not getting talked about. They had 19 sacks, 12 takeaways. You get Caleb Banks, who had 3.5 sacks last season. You got one of the top recruits from 2024 on the D-line in LJ McCray. Your nose tackle, Jamari Lyons, is coming back from a broken leg last year. He's expected to be back there. Linebacker, you've got a couple of pieces. Miles Graham, who's a sophomore, is looking to get the nod this year, potentially break out. You've got Grayson Howard as well at that linebacker position. Your DB room's going to be pretty solid. You got the leading tackler in Jordan Castell. Dude, we're missing somebody on this defense. Sapp? Tyreek Sapp, Devin Moore at corner. He's got all SEC tools. He's been injured the past year. But this defense is going to be loaded. And I expect Florida to be able to rely on the defense this season. Florida's going to be a damn good team.
Coming in at our number 3 seed, we have Penn State, the Big Ten champ. James Franklin last year lost to Notre Dame in that semifinal game. Return Aller, Singleton, Allen. They lose Tyler Warren to the NFL. You return 4 starters on that offensive line. You bring in a bunch of receivers, Kyron Hudson, Trevor Pena, Devontae Ross, especially in that Notre Dame game, they had no wide receiver help. So they get some wide receiver help now. Luke Reynolds expected to be the tight end. Jim Knowles, I think maybe the splash of the offseason, joins the staff as the DC. They're loaded at defensive end. Nobody's surprised about that. Denias Sutton and Max Granville, a little banged up right now, but he will expect to be the next dude at Penn State at defensive end. Zakee Wheatley is safety. He's got 5 interceptions in his career. A.J. Harris, he's going to be an NFL prospect. Zane Durant, highly underrated, but he'll be kind of the main piece of that defensive tackle room. They're going to need more depth at that position. Zariah Fisher, another name to watch at defensive end. He's going to fill in for Granville as Granville is out with an injury. Eni White from Texas A&M. Owen Waffle from Michigan. Those will be your defensive ends and your defensive tackles. Defense has a chance to be elite again. but the margin for error is razor thin. I think they get it done. That is why they are number 3 seed.
And number 2, the runner-up spot of our top 12, we've got Texas, who is our projected SEC champion under Steve Sarkisian. Obviously, the biggest headline this year is it's the Arch Manning era. Biggest thing with Texas is their ability to retool, not rebuild, retool, and keep that ship sailing. 4 of the 5 offensive linemen are going to be new starters, but they do have past experience running the offense with Arch Manning, which I will think will bode well. It's Texas. They've got dudes at O-line. I don't care who. Most of these schools have dudes ready to go. Quintravion Wisner and CJ Baxter from last year. You've got playmakers returning from the outside, DeAndre Moore Jr., obviously the headline of Ryan Wingo, and then you also added in Stanford transfer Emmett Mosley. On your biggest question marks, the tight end position, I'd say you're doing pretty good overall, because most times you can just have a tight end that can do a job, play a role, and be successful. But they've got transfer Jack Andrews coming in for that, who had a pretty solid season last year with 623 receiving yards. Defensively, this is the name of Texas. It's their defense. Bringing a couple of transfers to retool from last year. Obviously, you lost a lot from a stacked defense. But Cole Brevard of Purdue, Travis Shaw of North Carolina, and Hiro Kanu from Ohio State to complete that. You get Colin Simmons, one of the best edge rushers in the country, and you also got him paired up with one of the best linebackers in the country in Anthony Hill Jr. Michael Taff and Jelani McDonald with Malik Muhammad and Jalen Gilbo in the back 4. This secondary is going to be elite this year. Great linebackers, great defensive line. Texas is probably the most loaded roster in the country currently as it stands.
Coming in at number 1, last but certainly not least, the Clemson Tigers, our ACC champ. Dabo Swinney leading the charge, 10-4 last year. They lost to Texas in the first round of the college football playoff. Return Cape Klubnik. They return a top 20 offense. Antonio Williams, Brian Wesco Jr., TJ Moore. Adam Randall will be their running back this year, who was a receiver last year. So that's going to be maybe your biggest question mark there. Return 4 starting linemen. Defensively, you allowed 4.71 yards per carry last year. That's got to change. They brought in Tom Allen from Penn State to be their DC. They returned 2 NFL guys, Peter Woods, T.J. Parker, defensive tackle. They bring in Will Help from Purdue at defensive end. Sammy Brown, who I like a lot, going to make every single tackle on the field. He's going to be an all-conference linebacker. Avion Terrell, Ashton Hampton at cornerback, set in stone. Depth questions at DB a little bit. Obviously, everybody's got depth questions everywhere. Tyler Venables, free safety, who was the son of Brent Venables at Oklahoma.
Let's get into our playoff brackets.
Yeah, we will start with 5 versus 12.
So that brings us from Michigan against Navy.
This is a mud fight right here, man. Like a rock fight.
It's going to be tough for a G5 team to do something. Michigan should be able to. We expect Michigan to be pretty damn good this year. I expect, especially Bryce Underwood, to grow as the season goes on. Obviously, I really am high on Michigan this year going the season. I'm a Michigan hater. I am. I hate on a lot of the good teams, but Michigan, I usually am down on. I expect this season to be a big season from them. I don't see the Navy stopping.
Yeah. And like we talked about before, the only reason we have Michigan this high is because of their schedule in the Big Ten Conference. After Week 9, their Big Ten schedule is just a pile of... The question of this game, can Michigan stop the triple option offense that Navy likes to run? Pretty obvious answer here. The answer is yes. We have Michigan moving on to beat Navy.
Coming in at our next matchup, the 6 versus 11, we've got the Big 12 champion Kansas State coming up against ACC runner-up in Georgia Tech. Really, really fun matchup. I love both of these squads, but there's one team that I love a little bit more, and I think they're probably one of the most underrated, underlooked teams in the country, and that's Georgia Tech. I like Brent Key. I love the trio, or the duo, of Haynes King and Jamal Haynes. They have one of the best offenses in the country, one of the best rush offenses especially. Kansas State's pretty similar. Great quarterback, great running back room, good weapons all around. I've got Georgia Tech winning this game. I think defensively they are better than Kansas State, and I think that they can keep up with Kansas State's offense.
Initially, before we started recording, I had Kansas State beating Georgia Tech, but thinking about it more, you kind of said it, I think physicality-wise, they're just a much better, more physical team, and they will play Georgia, they will play Clemson before playing Kansas State. Physicality-wise, I think they take the nod here. I think the biggest thing, especially if they're going to both make the playoff, is going to be health at quarterback position. They like to run Haynes King. They like to run Avery Johnson. So They need those guys to stay healthy if they're going to make a championship run. Georgia Tech, moving on at number 11.
Coming into our third game of the first round, we've got the 7th seed Georgia versus Notre Dame at the 10th spot. Rematch in which Notre Dame won in the playoffs last year. I kind of like Notre Dame, but also Georgia's excellence as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Coach, I'll let you talk about this one because I was kind of up in the air about this.
Georgia, I think, experience-wise, championship-wise, it's going to be in the hedges of Georgia. Okay, remember, Georgia will be hosting this game. I mean, Gunnar Stockton's decent. I like Nate Frazier. I think their offensive line is going to be okay. I think they're going to be better at wide receiver than they were last year. And defensively, they're Georgia, okay? Offensively, for Notre Dame, I think quarterback's going to be the biggest question mark. I think they could be better than last year. I just don't think they have enough offensively to make that push again, especially if you're going to get Georgia between the hedges.
All right, so you got Georgia moving on. We got number 8 Ohio State versus number 9 Alabama. Both teams question marks at quarterback. Both teams stud wide receivers. Both teams great young running backs coming in. Great defenses. I don't know. Who do you think is going to be a better team this year? I think Ohio State lost a bit more than what Alabama lost, and I think we'll see that as the season goes on.
For me, I just realized that it would be Jeremiah Smith versus Ryan Williams.
Which is awesome.
Team-wise, Alabama's the better team this year, defensively and offensively. Alabama's going to get it figured out. Ryan Grubb, he's a great OC. It worked out at Washington with him. It's going to work out here. I think the biggest kind of question mark between these two teams is that's going to be at Ohio State. We know how it turned out last year against Tennessee. I just don't think talent-wise Ohio State is on the same level this year. I have Alabama beating Ohio State in this game. Number 5, Michigan versus number 4, Florida.
I am super high on Florida. And I think overall they have more talent than what Michigan has this year. I don't think Michigan's at that level where Florida's at a talent perspective currently. In this type of game, I like Florida a lot. Neutral site, I think they are probably a bit more physical compared to what Michigan has to offer right now. I think overall they have more talent than Michigan. They have a better quarterback, better running back room, better receiver room, better O-line, better D-line, better. I honestly would take pretty much just about every single one of Florida's position groups over Michigan's.
Yeah, I think the only question here, and it's a question for everybody, is going to be health for Florida. Literally, who is the most healthy? I think I agree with everything you said. Florida's going to be more talented. They're going to have the better quarterback. If he's healthy, of course, better running backs, better wide receivers. They should be more talented. They are taking this game.
We've got the 9 seed Alabama Crimson Tide for taking on our number 1 overall seed Clemson. Alabama going to be a great team this year, but I think Clemson is, in terms of rankings, they're being overlooked right now. I think they're 4th or 5th in the AP poll that just dropped, which, I mean, overlooked, but I don't think they're getting the props that they deserve or the hype that they should be getting. You know, Clemson, I think they would just go out and beat Bama. They got the better quarterback. Don't have a better O-line. Leon's got the line, but that should be a good game. I can see Alabama taking it, but I have more faith in Clemson to be in this spot than I do Alabama. So I'm going to take Clemson.
And I agree with you. I think the only reason, talent-wise, they're probably pretty even.
I'd say
I think the only thing we kind of take for Clemson is their quarterback, Kate Klubnik. I mean, he's the answer. He's more proven than Ty Simpson, Austin Mack, Keelan Russell combined. So that's just the answer right there.
Coach, for our third game of the second round, we've got Georgia Tech taking on Penn State.
Penn State beats the teams they are better than. They do not beat the teams that are rated above them. They are better than Georgia Tech, offensive line-wise, running back-wise, probably quarterback-wise, even though I think Haynes King is severely underrated. Wide receiver-wise, they're better. Defensively, they're better if they stay healthy. We want a Cinderella in here, but let's just be honest. In football, it's 11 on 11. The Cinderella chance is extremely high. So we're taking Penn State in this one.
Texas versus Georgia. Now, Texas, they've lost to Georgia 2 times last year. Did you spell Georgia right? No way Georgia spelled that right. No way Georgia spelled like that.
You know how to spell Georgia?
That's no way Georgia spelled Georgia. Oh my gosh. It is, man. That's crazy. Dude, that looks so crazy. Seeing Georgia spell, I've never seen what? No way Georgia spelled like that though. I haven't spelled Georgia on song. The GEO looks so wrong. And then if you split up the word,
Because the game in the regular season will be at Georgia, I have Georgia winning that game. But I do think Texas finally gets over the hump in this game. Maybe Arch Manning takes that final step. Maybe that offensive line takes that final step to beat Georgia's defense. Offensively, Texas is going to be just as good, if not better. Defensively, they should be just as good, if not better. I have Texas winning this game.
So number 1 versus number 4, we got Clemson versus Florida. And man, I really, really wanted to pick Florida in this, but I cannot. I feel like I've already done enough justice for Florida. I honestly should go all the way. But I cannot envision Florida making the semifinals of a college football playoff. Who's more likely to make a mistake? I'd say Florida.
Yeah.
And that, honestly, I'd say Florida's
For
more
sure.
likely to flip up than Clemson.
But if they made the semifinal,
I'd bet on Florida.
Billy Napier's job would be safe for 3 more
Oh,
years.
his job ain't in trouble. He's got another 6 months. That schedule comes out again.
Okay, so we got Clemson at number 1.
We'll take Clemson. I know we're chalking it right now. Number 3, Penn State versus number 2, Texas. Who do you like more? Texas, come on. Let's be for real. Penn State is, let's be for real, man. James Franklin, until proven otherwise, you are not beating Texas.
Yeah.
I don't, this could be the year to finally shut everyone up. But, dude, you have not done it yet. Since 2016 when you beat Ohio State. I'm not buying you still, dude. We got you this far, but if you play Texas on the field, no one's favoring Penn State. I'm taking Texas. They're pretty damn similar teams. I know it's a prediction, but based off of evidence that we've seen for the past 10 years, Penn State does not beat the teams that they are not better than or equal to, really.
Yeah.
I'm taking Texas.
Penn State would still not beat a team that they are technically not better than. And Texas finally gets over the hump and gets into the national championship for the first time since 2009 against Alabama.
And our national championship preview prediction is Clemson versus Texas. I know it's 1 and 2, boring. But it's a preview. These are supposed to be our top 2 teams. Obviously, we're going to project them to go to the national championship.
To be fair, it's our 1-2. You know what I mean? It's not like it's
exactly.
AP poll 1-2.
When these are our top teams.
Yeah.
And we expect this. This is like everything in a perfect world. Clemson versus Texas. Who's number 1? Clemson. We think Clemson's the best team in the country. Who do we think is going to win this game? Clemson. 2 great programs. Would be an amazing national championship.
Yeah.
Arch Manning makes it. Cade Klubnik makes it. I believe these guys played each other in high school. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
They definitely did. What a matchup we'll have. Who do I like more? I like Clemson right now. But again, I expect both of these teams to be in the national championship. Clemson's my number 1 team, our number 1 team. We think Clemson has a better chance of being better than Texas. So we are picking Clemson. If these 2 teams were to play, which we saw last year in Texas beat the brakes off Clemson. So, I mean.
It wasn't the brakes. It was a pretty tight game, to be honest. That plays into effect at all of just knowing how Clemson likes to play defense, knowing how Texas likes to run offense. Maybe that plays into effect a little bit in this game.
Sure?
Texas is a lot like Penn State, except Texas can actually do it at some points, but they can also turn it off at some points. And we saw last year how they couldn't finish games, especially games that they had a high chance in winning. They just couldn't put it away in the fourth quarter. Clemson, I mean, they got the better quarterback, I think. Maybe not prospect, but they got the better quarterback in college. Probably better weapons on the outside. Offensive line-wise, they're probably better. Defensively, it's probably about the same.
Yep.
So it just comes down to Manning versus Klubnik. Klubnik has the edge there just because of experience, to be honest.
Yeah. So we're taking Clemson to be our national champion. Moving on to our Heisman list. Starting off, based off of our projected seasons, every single one of these players is in on a playoff team. That will be likely wrong, I would imagine. Probably. But our 5 includes DJ Lagway from Florida, quarterback, Blake Horvath from Navy, Nicholas Singleton, the running back from Penn State. We got Arch Manning. If Texas is a 2 seed, I would expect Arch Manning. If Texas is the number 2 ranked team in the country or a top 4 team, Arch Manning's probably in the Heisman. Quarterback, Cade Klubnik. On number 1, Clemson. So, Coach and I both agreed when we sent in our list, we both had Cade Klubnik as our number one Heisman. We pretty much had the same list.
Yeah.
We think pretty similarly about all these guys in terms of who can make noise. If everything plays out to how we would expect or predict, this is your Heisman list. Makes sense. Who are we
Yes.
missing out on here? Who's missing out? I mean, Jeremiah Smith.
Jeremiah Love, Ryan Williams. Let's be honest here, though. Let's be honest. A quarterback is winning the Heisman. Like, there's no, like, Travis Hunter this year. I mean, obviously, we're not going to be sure about running back until it actually happens. You're going to have to get close to the Barry Sanders record to be even in consideration. And even the good teams like Penn State and Notre Dame have 2 running backs each that are both pretty good. It could be Cade Klubnik without an actual running back on his team. Could be Arch Manning, leading Texas with the last name. Blake Horvath. I mean, who's to say he doesn't have 40 touchdowns this year for Navy? So, who knows? But,
DJ Lagway, projected
yes.
superstar of our sport. We've got Cade Klubnik winning our Heisman Trophy this year.
Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. That is our top 12, our Heisman, and our national champions. So, season officially 12 days away from the time of recording. Let's get it.